So the battery in here, you will have to replace at some point. It's definitely a lithium ion battery. This battery has about 3.85 volts, and you can actually see it here. Connections, everything are there. It's an official Netgear battery. I wouldn't recommend doing third party. On the back of the device itself, you're going to see a couple different things. You're going to see this is the Netgear MR6500, and it has the IMEI address on there. It has the SIM card as well. So this is how it's getting the connection out. So basically it's connecting to cell phone towers. So whatever cellular provider that you have, that you bought this through, you can use it through there. If you get one unlocked, you can put whatever cellular tower you want on there. If you're in a good cell site, you're at least having about 3, what they call a triangulation. That's giving you the ability to basically connect like your cell phone. So if your cell phone hotspot is not holding the devices, this right here is definitely a lifesaver. Of course, you got the power button up here at the top. And I'm just going over this for the new people who may not have saw the previous video here. Touchscreen. And then on the back here, you have your Wi-Fi antennas that you can plug into here. And Wi-Fi antennas meaning you have your omnidirectional antennas that you can basically put this device in your home, and you can get a omnidirectional antenna to connect to these to give you a much more better connection to the cellular network. USB-C. So the USB-C cable, and this is just one from my computer, my MacBook. All right. You can get one of these, plug it directly into here, connect it directly to your computer. You also have your network jack right here if you want to plug a device into this. This is where a lot of people was asking, what do I plug into here? Well, if you want to plug this into a wireless router in your home and experiment, you can do it through here. Okay. So now that we have that out of the way, let's take a look at the actual information from the official Netgear site, because I want you all to be able to see and leverage what you have here. So if you take a look at it on the actual site itself, what you're going to see is actually, before getting to that, I'm going to be dealing with the comments in a moment because I want you all to, I want to be able to bring those into play of actual live comments that people have said back. And I want to be sure we have that here. But before we get into the comments, I want to get onto the actual web page of Netgear first so that you can have the information. If you go directly to the Netgear site, and I'm specifically saying the Netgear site because if you ever want to be able to get a new version of this or get the current version I have, whatever, you can go to the official Netgear site. It has all that there. This is the omnidirectional antenna I was talking about. This is the device. They were about $600-700, but you can be the judge of that. Official battery, I would get the Netgear official battery if you already have one of these and need a replacement. They got the colors in black and white. The one I have is basically did this one here. And there's so many different points on this particular site for the Netgear officially. I want to give you the official site so that way you'll be able to leverage that. Now, let's move back here for a second. Let's get into the comments because the comments are going to be so important. I want to bring the comments up. Now, as we're going through these, and this is just a few, there are so many comments. I really appreciate all of you all for dropping by on the channel. But looking at the comments, for example, I have one here of a person that was asking a question on there. And they said basically, in general, the industry pretty much is insisting on marketing internet routers that do it all. So the router function and the modem function shouldn't be the same piece of equipment? And that's where I kind of have just a slight disagreement there, even though it was a great question. But for people who are in the tech space, like myself and other people who are techies, we like to separate things. We like to keep the modem and router separate. So modem is basically two terms: modulation, demodulation. And you're basically taking their wireless router and the modem, and you're putting them together as one device. So what your ISP will basically give you to put into your home. For people who are not as tech savvy, they would want to rent that from their internet service provider. For people like myself who like to experiment, I like to keep them separate. However, when you keep them separate, you don't pay the fee. However, you do have to constantly update your router. You have to update your router, and that is very, very important. And this is so important for us because of a couple of things. And I know this person that come in at that, basically saying everyone has a modem, old modem and router hanging around. Probably most of the techies probably do. And that's not the speed bottleneck, or you can get a good router for 80 bucks. If you need a router instead, why not make a modem with just the Ethernet port and the fastest internet connection? That way the only focus on the device is providing the fast Ethernet speed. So basically, from the way perspective that he's doing, is this basically something is slowing him down, which that's perfectly fine. People are going to basically change that and leverage their particular hotspot the way that they want. But I definitely advise, for simplicity, leave it together. The market should definitely not create one of those devices and just basically leave it separate, or sorry, leave it together for people for simplicity, so they can just plug and play and move forward. But for us people who are highly technical, we definitely want to be able to experiment with that. And so that's just a couple of the different things. Now, there's another comment on here that I wanted to bring up as well, and I want to definitely show it here on the screen so that way we can be able to get this leveraged out here too. Let's take a look at this one. I believe this one should be one other one. Oh yeah. So basically somebody definitely commented, awesome video. Thank you for that so much. And they basically was telling me how they set up their network, and they have their own routers, and have a lot of problems with crashes when running internet routers. And this way they protect their network, and basically should the modem die, I just need to stick another modem in, set my own router and static address in the modem, and this I can seamlessly plug the ASUS router into the modem, and I'm instantly back up. So basically they kind of have a little bit of a backup connection there, which is great. And that is perfectly fine, because in the event of like a thunderstorm, for example, if you have a thunderstorm and your ISP goes out basically, and you have this basically plugged up as well into your network, you can basically set the same like network name on this device right here as what your currently Wi-Fi router has, and when it goes offline, everything will basically switch over to that. So that's the cool about the SSIDs that you can provide into that. And just for like the other common and interesting questions like out there, like the battery life over time, it would definitely will go down. But basically when you're using this, make sure that you are using the battery almost, I would say down to between like 1 to 9%, and then charge it back up again. If you decide to use it internationally, make sure that it is an open device itself. Okay, make sure the SIM card is unlocked, so that way you can use it in whatever country you want, because you definitely don't want to have an extremely high bill. Now, it does overheat, so it's definitely going to need to be some ventilation. Do not keep it locked up in a bag. What I normally do is when it begins to overheat, if I'm in the vehicle and it's hot, I basically would take the cover off, and I would just basically have the battery just kind of exposed there, just to get a little bit of heat. But the speeds, it really depends on the area that you're in, to be honest with you. I've had where my cell phone didn't have a good signal. I was able to pull this out, and then it worked was perfectly fine. But me being in the tech space, as long as I'm able to browse, I'm fine. I don't really care about too much about the speed. Now, realistically, the number of devices staying connected without issues is Even though the spec sheet says the 30 plus devices, I've never had just 30 plus devices on there because keep in mind, if the more devices you have connected to this one device, you're definitely going to see a little bit of a slower speed depending on what the devices are pulling. So you definitely couldn't have like a kid in the vehicle streaming like video games and then you're trying to browse the web. Of course, you're going to may have a little bit of a lag, but it's not that much. And basically just make sure the software is definitely updated on that. But just to make sure to give you a little bit of clarity, if I had to put this on a lightness scale between like 1 and 10, today at this point in time, I would rate this device maybe like a 7 out of 10. Because I never really rate things a 10 out of 10, but 7 out of 10 because I mean, I like it. It really helps me out. It's really definitely a lifesaver, and that's definitely what I like about it. The things that have stood out to me about the device right now is just basically I just haven't purchased a new battery to basically keep it charged long, but I would still recommend it for anyone today in 2025 standards. And we'll see if I decide to upgrade the device a little bit later. But what I have learned is the hidden trick that I would say if anybody could do, of course, over time, is if you're in your home and then say your Wi-Fi router is set to example network. If you basically program example network in this device and make sure the password is the same, you can basically keep it in your vehicle and you can power it on and you can literally walk from inside of your residence outside to the vehicle and it still will automatically connect. Just make sure you don't have the device inside the house running because your devices will jump like between them. But basically, that's what I pretty much have here, people. I definitely encourage you all to view more of the videos. If you have any new questions, please put them down in the comments because I'd be more than happy to get through there and basically provide any information that I can. But if you're planning to do a best settings or you need some troubleshooting videos, I definitely like to most definitely keep you all in the loop if you decide to have any more questions with that. But thank you for your support. Definitely like, listen, and subscribe to the channel. DevTech 101, aka Black Mantle. Look forward to bringing more content to you all soon.